Hey guys, this is post-recording Ven. Just thought I'd come in and clarify that this video is mostly unedited and is about a 40-minute or odd-so minute kind of spiel about the new Elysian Realm Signet changes. Just pretty much unedited, so I do apologize if there's any kind of moments where I'm just kind of like not talking, just kind of gathering my thoughts for a second. But with that kind of clarified, let's get into the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a bit of a Honkai Impact video. Haven't done one of these ones in a while, but at the request of a viewer as well as a little bit of interest in myself to find out what the difference is, today we're going to take a look at the Elysian Realm Signet changes. The Signet changes have come in this patch 6.6, I think it is, and a lot of them have been buffed, nerfed, and changed in some way or another. Some of them haven't been touched, like Part of Fellas hasn't been touched, but I want to go through these because I didn't know that this existed. This little post by Cajun. I didn't know this existed. I want to go through and just kind of talk about what may or may not be the meta. It's pretty easily established by the CN community what is and isn't the meta, so maybe my opinion won't be too highly valued here. But nonetheless, I do want to sit down and kind of go through it and explain some things, at least from my perspective, of what will still be usable and what won't be still usable. And we're going to start off with the big man, Kevin, Mr. Deliverance himself, if I can open this in the other image. So we're starting off with him. He's had I think Cajun here explains it pretty well. He has had the most changes. Kevin's been made a little bit more usable. Now, his base signets have had like a generic buff in terms of duration from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. So any signet that he has, the elemental breach, the physical breach, all that stuff has been buffed in terms of duration, which is quite good. 5 seconds was not enough to really have any value on a lot of Valkyries. Like, 5 seconds was only good if you were using something like Deanne Cora, where you're actually spamming her ultimate all the goddamn time and you're constantly refreshing this. 7 seconds, although it doesn't make it incredibly powerful, it does make it slightly more usable on a few Valkyries that have a bit more build-up after they press their ultimate, something like Elysia, physical Elysia. I would even say you can do it on something like Hair, because you kind of do have an instant burst mode right after pressing your ultimate, but it is slightly longer than you'd want it, so it's good on a few more Valkyries, but again, not amazing. And then the only one that's going to buff is like the physical breach. The specific buffs I won't go too into. You can kind of go with a bit more of a physical build, but it's just been buffed up a bit. As for the Nexuses, there's been some fundamental changes with his Core 2, but Core 1 is just a duration increase as well as a reducing time to get into the final battle, Echo of Deliverer, and extension of time. It's just a bunch of time stuff with his Core 1, so it's not actually that important. It's just going to let you get tempo a little bit faster, essentially. So it's cool and all, but Core 2 is the big one. So War of Deliverance, which had a 50-hit combo for ultimate attacks and ultimate-based things, it's been reduced from 50 down to 40. So it's been reduced from 50 down to 40. So if we jump into the game really quickly, go to Collection, and I go to, not the rewards, rather. How do I get to Kevin now? Here's the difficulty, trying to find Kevin amongst all this bullcrap. Where's his Core 2? That would be Core 1, wouldn't it? Core 1 has been reduced down to 40 hits. Now, the big thing that the question for me is does his signature item that you can equip whilst you're going into a run, if we go into here, and I believe it is, if we go into this one, and then we find the Kevin item, is it this one? Does it reduce it down to then 30? No, it doesn't. It reduces it down to 35. So it's kind of like, okay, 50 down to 40, and then you can also take it down to 35 with this item. It's kind of useful. I wouldn't, again, it's still a lot of ultimate hits, so it's going to be, like, not good for a lot of Valkyries. Like, again, Dia and Cora is one to name that is good for this. If you're doing a very specific Aponia run, that's the only other way that you can really utilize this. This is not an overly utilized Signet set. For that specific reason. You can use it on very specific Valkyries, but again, quite tough. The other caveat, though, is when burst characters enter the field, they instantaneously trigger War of Deliverance. So instead of having to get to that 50 to 40 hit combo, you just press your ultimate, and if the character is a burst Valkyrie, they'll immediately do it. Now, what is a burst Valkyrie? Well, a burst Valkyrie would be something, a Valkyrie with the tag. When you go into this little menu right here, you go to the character and you click on these little images. If it comes down and you have burst, right? Valkyrie has a burst mode. That's what that means. So if a character has this. Now, not all characters have this, and I would say Very few characters have this, but characters that do have this, you can utilize Kevin's 2 to actually get value. And now, honestly, I probably might end up doing a bit of a Herstra of Human Ego run with Kevin 2 to see if it works, see if the buffs are actually worth it, and see how much damage you could maybe achieve with this. I think that'll be quite interesting to figure out. But that is how it works fundamentally. Kevin 2 is good. Now, I will kind of disagree with Cajun here. Kevin 2, while buffed, still won't see much use for even Burst Mode Valkyries. Most of them still prefer Kevin 1. I don't think so. I think Kevin 2 is better for some very specific situations, for Burst Mode Valkyries specifically, because at least I can see it in Herstra of Human Ego's case that, well, you'll just be able to do a lot more instantaneous damage because one of the enhancements for Nexus 2 is like defense decrease or like massive defense shredding for a limited time. And so that moment, once you press your ultimate and then the next few hits will be absolutely juiced out of their minds. So I do think that it will see use for like a fair few Valkyries, not all of them obviously, so maybe the point still stands, but Kevin has been made a little bit more viable, right? Kevin is good. Now on to the one that people are very sad about. Aponia. Aponia has apparently been nerfed. Now, I haven't really read it, to be quite fair with you, but she's been nerfed a lot. So poor Aponia, 5th Signet, Exoneration, and total damage taken has been nerfed, while Aponia 2 Enhanced Signets have been absolutely destroyed. Now, there's a lot to read here. So looking at the base Signets, her 5th Signet, 70 down to 40 starting Exoneration, or Exhortation. I don't even know what that word means. I don't know. Total damage multiplier down from 25 to 20. 6-1 total damage multiplier from 30 to 40. And then stop exoneration from decreasing for 15 seconds up to 40 seconds on QTE. That's pretty good. The damage decrease is not good, and also the exhortation starting stuff is not good. So a few bad parts, and you know, overall not great. So base signets I think are fine still. I think the base signets, specific ones, are fine. As for the enhancements though, Core 1 new effect, 40% Fizz and 20% Elemental Breach on QTE, which is quite interesting for 40 seconds. That's I don't want to say that's incredible, but it's definitely far from bad. I just wanted to find it in game though. I just do want to find this in game. And as I try to find it in game, because they've been changed, they actually just don't appear here. So fair enough. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Bound by the Body, ultimate damage minus 20% total damage multiplier to take 15% more damage committed to thy life exhortation. Won't drop below 40 to 100. Witnessed by the Heart, basic attack deals 20% less physical, and elemental valks take 15% more damage. Overall, I just don't think you'll be using Core 1 ever on any character, really. I never really got the point of Core 1, even when I tried to read it before the changes. I just didn't really get it. I think it just sounds dumb. I think it's more of a survivability one. I'm not really sure. So again, you're not going to be running Core 1. Core 2, though, effects of the Enhanced Signets plus 50% if you have only one. That's... Sure. Punish Evil plus 40% total damage multiplier has been reduced to 26 total damage, or rather total damage taken. Sorry, my apologies, not total damage multiplier, total damage taken. 5 SP has been reduced to 3.5 SP restored. A Fellow Good Core 2 total damage multiplier has been reduced from 40 to 30 and increases the physical and elemental breach from 0.25 to 0.13 of exhortation. Which is a lot of decreasing here. Everything has been in the negatives. Everything is in the negatives. And then the last one, Answer Prayers, total damage take, or rather, take 30% has been reduced to 20%. So it's a damage taken increase technically because you're going from 30 to 20 reduction. I don't know. Then 40% has been reduced to 26% Fizz and Ellie damage, and then the 80% adaptive, 800% adaptive damage has been reduced from 800 to 520. All in the negatives. We're all in the negatives here, ladies and gentlemen. This is pretty bad, pretty sad, and pretty unfortunate. The thing is, though, this does not make it bad. It's still fine. These percentages have been reduced from overpowered to just very good. I'm just going to be honest. That's like... Because this is all obviously from the enhanced signets, right? This is all from the enhanced, and presumably this is all from the level 1 version of them. Now, if I just quickly try to find it, where is Aponia here? There she is. See, if we're looking at it, this is all still at level 1, right? At level, 3, which is where you're usually going to get them, it's 50% damage taken by the enemies here. So still, that's very good. Going into this one, increased damage dealt by 30%, and at level 3, it's still 30%. Actually, I don't even know what got increased here. I guess the elemental breach scaling has been increased from 0.13 to 0.19. So again, it's still less than the previously established number in the last patch, but the thing is, it's still fine. It's absolutely fine. I don't want to try to like play this like it's going to ruin the signets. You're still probably going to be running Discipline 2. It's still going to be very good. Obviously, you're going to need to run a Discipline build. You're not just going to be able to pick these up and have a good time. You're going to have to build it correctly. But they've been reduced from overpowered to just good things to pick. Much like Vicissitude, which Vicissitude is not overpowered, but Vicissitude has also been changed apparently, so we'll get into that once we get there. But much like Vicissitude last patch, where it was just decent to have, it wasn't overpowered, it's just good to have on your character passively. That's what Discipline has become now. It's been nerfed to the point where it's just decent to have on your character. So I don't want to say like a pony has been destroyed. I don't think that's I don't think that's true. I think it's just fine. But this last point here, Aponia 1 remains unused for most Valkyries after the Signet change. True and real. Aponia 1 needs a massive rework. I just don't think it just makes any sense. But regardless, let's move on to Gold. Now, Gold, I did some runs in the Elysian Realm once we were doing our Hair Elysian Realm a bit. And I actually saw some of the changes, and I think they were really good. I think Gold has been changed to actually be made really useful and potentially actually powerful. But maybe not overpowered, but decent to have on any Valkyrie that can get high SP. Personally, not ones that actually consume a lot of SP, but ones that can consume in bulk or regenerate like crazy. But going into them, all base signets now cap at 500 SP, right? So what does that mean? Well, Gold, I was about to say Aponia, Gold signets are all about SP having, an excess of SP, having your whole yellow bar full, right? That is the whole point of them. And if we look at these things, if we just look at one of them, every 10 SP left boosts physical and elemental damage by 4%, maximum 200%. So getting enough 10 SP to get that 4% up to 200%, I'm not going to do the maths because it's backward maths and I'm not good at maths, so we're just going to leave it at that. But it's quite good, quite nice, and very, very helpful in the long run. Again, though, very, very niche because you need SP, right? So they've added a cap, essentially. Before, there wasn't a cap, now there is a cap, which is fine in my opinion, because the cap is quite large. But that's good. And then the ones that have been changed is the SP per second regen from 1.5 to 2 SP per second, as well as the initial SP card, which is initial and max from plus 30 to plus 50. So a bit more useful overall and higher SP regeneration in general. Very cool, very fine. As for Core 1, there's a bit of oddness in Core 1 because I think it's very specific for a character, but Lightning Aria bolts deal adaptive damage, and if deployed, Valkyrie has paralysis tag, or the paralyzed tag, gain 25 elemental breach. So it's only good for Lightning Valkyries. It really is only good for Lightning Valkyries. You have to actually have a Valkyrie that, when you go into their setting, and you go into one of them, it has the lightning tag thingy right here. You need to have this. Now, that's a bit weird. I'll be honest, that's a very weird tag to have onto a character, I think. I'm not sure I'm an overly large fan of that, but it's fine. Again, I think what I've seen as the changes go on is they're trying to change each signet to be a little bit more specific to certain types of characters. So if you have electric characters or lightning characters, you go for Eden and something else. And if you go for combo hit characters and fast attacking characters, you go for Bodhi, which I'll explain once you get to Bodhi. And so on and so forth. I think you're trying to make it a bit more specific, which I actually am all for. So I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, going on. Aria of Soil, the card, intoxicated enemies take 10%. That's increased to from 10 to 15, which is quite nice. As well as the Aria of Dawn, Thunder Symphony deals adaptive damage, which is just, it deals more damage, right? Aria of Dawn just does more. That's all with Core 1. Core 2, Final Echo damage has been increased, or has it been increased? It's been changed. So instead of just total damage plus 8%, it's total damage plus max SP 10 times 4.4%. A bit of maths has to be done here. It's probably best if I just go into the game and look at it. Expand, collection, rewards, general signets. Where is the Eden lady? Here we are. Yeah, so final echo status, during which the total damage is increased by 0.4% for every 10 SP limit. So instead of, how was it before? I can't even remember exactly how it was before, but it was something about restoring, or no, spending a certain amount of energy, and then, or SP, and then you get a bonus for a bit. It's just how much SP you have. So it's pretty good. I think. It's fine. I think it's still fine. It's still fine. Like, you may use it, you may not use it. It can't be upgraded. As for the enhancements, I think the enhancements are mostly the same. They're not overly different, so it's not going to be a drastic change. It's just made Eden a little bit more useful. After lasting 3 seconds in Final Echo, SP cap boosts by 50% and restores 1.4 per second. So it's pretty good. That's the SP boosting one. After Final Echo state lasts for over 3 seconds, deal attacker damage of adaptive to nearby enemies per second until it ends. This one actually might be very useful because adaptive damage is scalable damage. It's exponentially scaling damage. And then after lasting 3 seconds, Final Echo reduces the attack, defense, and elemental resistance of nearby enemies by 2.8% per second, 56% max until it ends. So pretty good. Like, pretty good. Overall, very good, right? If you can stay in the Final Echo state for a very long time, if you can stay in Final Echo for a very long time, Eden 2 can be very powerful. But again, that's not every Valkyrie. It's actually very few Valkyries because you have to have high SP regeneration, and some Valkyries just don't have that. If your ultimate is like a core part of your character, it's probably not going to happen, but for characters that can do it, go for it. Anyway, going on to the next one, Helix. I don't think anything crazily important happening, and no base signet changes because her base signets are already overpowered as is. Nerfing them would maybe make them a bit useless. But then for Core 1, which is the physical build, by the way, for those who are curious. So Core 1 is physical, Core 2 is generally considered elemental, but it's also universal. Core 1, Act 7, additional effect, plus 30% fizz on trigger, which is fine, more damage. Act 8, Marvelous Magic, or cost 20 SP, has been reduced to 5 SP, which essentially was the card that boosts your damage of those little kind of like roller blades that you send out. Instead of costing 20 SP, it just now costs 5 SP, which is actually really good and has made it a bit more usable, because before, 20 SP was really detrimental to the character. Like, as much as you still ran it on a lot of physical Valkyries, it was detrimental to the character because 20 SP is a lot of SP, especially when you're in a timed game mode, so that's cool. And the damage boost has been increased from 30 to 40, so it's an overall boost there. And then the finale, one cast gives a Marvelous Magic, total damage multiplier from 4% to 6%, max of 60. It's fine. You just have to cast it again 10 times to get the maximum, and you got a 20% total damage increase from 40. So it's overall buffs on Core 1. Are you still going to use it on physical Valkyries? Yes. Are you going to use it on elemental Valkyries? Still no. No point in doing it. It's only physical stuff. As for Core 2, the adaptive damage has been decreased from 1500 to 900. Which is quite fine, but the cooldown between each trigger has been reduced. So is it actually a nerf? Not really. It's actually a damage increase, because 1500, you half it. It's not 900, is it? It's not 900, is it? So 900 every 1.5 seconds. Sorry, I'm having a speech problem right now. And 900 every 1.5 seconds. Times that by 2, you get 1800 every 3 seconds. So technically it's a damage increase, but it's a bit of it in a different way, which is fine. Anyway, Fracture, 100% to 200% adaptive damage per second. It's quite nice. And then Saga, Overlapping Needles adaptive damage has been changed to adaptive elemental damage, which is overall fine. Vilvi has not been really changed that much. You just kind of get, it's all buffs, really. I'd say it's all buffs so far, apart from the, well, actually it is all buffs, actually. I was about to say apart from the top one, but technically it is buff, so it's all buffs, really. It's all buffs. Vilvi is just fine. Are you still going to use her on the Valkyries that you did before? Yes. Yes, you are. Simply put. On to Decimation. Decimation, I haven't actually read this guy, but he's been changed a bit. All base signets now cap at 1800 HP. It's quite cool, quite fine. Just you capped at HP. Core 1, is Core 1 the one that I use? No, it's not. Core 1 I have never used in my life, so I have absolutely no idea how it works, but I'll read it regardless. Blood Boil recharges additional up from 2 to 5 stacks per second. For every 100 HP loss, and also Deal Fire has been changed to adaptive damage, so maybe now you can use it on a bit more universal Valkyries instead of Fire Valkyries. The enhanced ones, losing HP recharges 200 has been changed to 300 Blood Boil, 400% total damage to enemies with high HP percentage, which is quite fine, and as well as fire has been changed to adaptive damage for one of them, 40% physical to elemental on Blood Boil. I don't know anything about Core 1, I do apologize, I would love to be of help here, but I've never used it in my life. As for Core 2, which is the generally considered very, very powerful one, Homeland and Friends, 20% Fizz and Elemental Breach has been changed to 50% Fizz and 25 Elemental Breach. So a bit of separation between Fizz and Elemental. Fizz has got the buff, which is absolutely fine. I think Fizz cards need a little bit more of a buff because Elemental Valkyries have a bit too easy of a time in Elysian Realm sometimes. I'm looking at you, Herrscher of Human Ego, and you, Herrscher of Finality, and you, Herrscher of Origin. I'm looking at them because they're very easy and very powerful with very specific cards. Overall, Calpus has been buffed. It's an overall buff for everything, whether it be for physical or certain builds, physical, elemental, Core 1, Core 2. It's all just buffs with a cap at 1800 HP, which is absolutely fine. Going down to the one that I think that has like the best changes, Bodhi. Bodhi is pretty good. Now, Bodhi's been changed. It's going to be hard to explain this because... Actually, it's not going to be hard to explain this. It's just a lot of words. His base Signets, he has some new ones. It's better if I just go into the game, really. It really is just better if I just jump into here. So, generally speaking, Bodhi's cards have not been changed crazily. There's just a few added cards that have been kind of changed a bit here and there. Generally speaking, you still have to get that 150 combo hit to get a certain effect, right? SP regeneration, total damage taken by enemies. That's all great and dandy. But it's these two cards here, the Motto Idi Vidar, as well as the Motto Asavakaya, have been changed, and these are the ones that give you the certain amount of hit combo, just default, right? These ones have been changed. So, combo hits are immediately increased to 70 when below 70, cooldown 10 seconds, so if you are not at 70, you gain 70 immediately. And the caveat here, characters that have fast attacks will deal 30% more physical damage. This is a very interesting caveat, because you're going to be questioning, what the hell is a fast attack? If my character attacks fast, does that count? No. The way that Honkai Impact works, it's the same thing with the burst mode. Very specific characters and very specific Valkyries have something considered fast attacks. If we go into Herrscher of Origin, she has fast attacks. And this is a fast attack, wields a katana continuously to attack enemies. It's a normal attack sequence. So, very, very specific things need to occur for you to get this buff, and the character just has to have this tag attached to them. If the character does not have this tag attached to them, if we look at Caroline Pepperino, she doesn't have this tag attached. If we look at Herrscher of Sentience, she doesn't have the tag attached. The character has to have this specific tag attached to her for this to actually mean something. You know, Su Shang has it, so you can use Su Shang. So when you're looking at it, be wary of what character actually has this tag attached to them, because they need to have it for that actual buff to work. And so two of these cards have been changed. So the massive one, the 70 combo increase one, is for physical Valkyries, which there aren't many fast attacking physical Valkyries out there, I'll be honest. And then the other one is, the 41 is for elemental damage Valkyries, but they are both fast attack, right? They are both fast attack, which makes it a bit more niche. I don't overly like this change because you kind of want both of these cards. If you're going to run a full Bodhi build, you want both of these cards. But you're not getting the bonus of one of them, right? Because you want that first effect. That first effect is really powerful. But that later effect, depending on which Valkyrie you are, you're not getting that extra effect, which is just a bit of lost damage, really. It's just a bit of lost damage. So, it's fine overall. As for the actual enhancements, I don't think they've been changed too drastically, but let's go to the page. For Core 1, additional effect on melee hit, plus 30% total damage taken to enemies by 5 seconds, or for 5 seconds, which is quite nice. Maxim of Anitya, enemies hit by Karma Will unable to recover shield, has been changed to give 50% fizz damage and plus 25 elemental breach. Oh, sorry, it's breach, not damage. My apologies. 50% breach and 25% elemental breach for 10 seconds, so a bit more universal. Instead of just messing around with shields, you get a bit more damage. A maximum of Anatman. Additional effect has been changed to, or is now, 30% total damage taken to enemies hit by the Karma Wheels. Overall, more damage. It's going to be more damage output instead of weird shield stuff. Because before, some of Bodhi is just weird. Before this, it was just kind of like, that doesn't seem like a really interesting or useful effect. So I'm not sure why exactly we're doing that. but now it's a bit more damage orientated. Just you have to have a specific type of Valkyrie and or kind of a hit combo based character, something like Su Shang, something like Vil V, right? So now you're probably going to be running Bodhi a bit more on those Valkyries if you happen to get his RNG on his doors. Going to core 2 though, Dictum of Ant-Man. Additional effect, enemies hit by Bodhi, eyes open, take 30% total damage. Damage bonus per debuff caps at 5 debuffs. Just take more damage, really. I believe this is the like little debuff inflicting one. If I try to find it here really quickly in my own files. Where is he? The Boditsky. The Bodinator. Enemies take 24% total damage. Additionally, for every debuff on the target, it takes 6% more. That's obviously not at level 3, rather. For every debuff, it takes 8% more. So, stacking up to 5 times. Very good. It's just a lot more damage orientated. I just want to simplify Bodhi like that. Much more damage orientated in terms of boosting instead of dealing. Because before, it was all about your karma wheel dealing a lot of damage, and it was adaptive damage, and then it was also weird applications of your dots, and I can't, it's eyes open, whatever. Now it's just like Elemental Breach. It's a little bit more generic, I will be honest. It's a little bit more generic, so it's kind of like a little bit more basic. I don't think it's intricate or deep. It's kind of been changed to that, but it's fine. It was really unused. Bodhi was really unused before, even for characters like Vil V before. You just didn't use it because it didn't feel value. No matter how fast your hit rate is, it didn't feel value because the actual damage that you get from it wasn't big. Now, it may see some play. Let me just see what Occasion here says. Bodhi's basic attack doesn't change much. With fast attack, e.g. Hirsch of Thunder, while SU1 above seem quite substantial, not many Valkyries will prioritize Bodhi's Signets, not even most fast attack tags ones. Most of the time, the Valkyries who do run Bodhi, like Shadow Knight, take SU2 instead. Yeah, I think it'll be kind of variable. I think they're both fine. In general, it depends on what multiplier you need more of. If you're running a lot of Fizz or Elemental Breach on other Signets, then you're probably going to want to go for total damage multiplier and total damage taken from Bodhi 2. But again, I think you will choose to run this on certain Valkyries. It's just that mixture of those two cards, plus 80 combo, but then it's for physical, plus 40 combo, but then it's for elemental. If they just change that to like Elemental Breach or something, or like it changes it to both breaches, I think it'll be fine. 15 on each, and then you get both of them, you get 30 in total. I think that'll be kind of interesting. But again, it's Bodhi. It's never going to be meta. It's never going to be a Stars. It's never going to be an Aponia. It's never going to be something like that. So it is what it is. Onto Setsuna, though. Onto Setsuna. Now, no changes on the basic signets because they're fine. I don't think they're fine. I think that her basic signets could have used a little bit of a buff in the percentages. I don't think her signets are overly high value. If I just try to find them here very quickly, I don't think they're good. I really think they could have used a buff. Like, you got attack speed. Like, maybe it's just gonna be me. Attack speed is like fucking useless in this game. It really is. No character really benefits greatly from 64% attack speed. Change that to something else. I'm not sure what. Maybe they could have done, I don't know, cooldown reduction or something. I don't know. They could have done a lot of other things. I just don't think a lot of characters can actually utilize attack speed in any way. Like, I think one Valkyrie, DA and Korra, she goes through her combo a bit faster. But even then, you're not going to be running Setsuna because it's not that great. 48% total damage taken at level 3 is not that high for level 3. 64 damage, total damage is, again, it's very low when you compare it to something like Bodhi, which is at like 77. And then other ones like do a little more consistently for a longer duration. So I think Setsuna's base signets could have used a buff. Even something like this one just stinks. Like, it may be used by a lot of people, maybe people disagree, but like, ultimate evasion skill is, when it is on CD, you reset it. It's like, I don't know, it just feels like shit to take this. Even though it does maybe makes your gameplay a bit smoother, it just probably feels like shit to have it because you're wasting one card on a slight bit of utility. So I think a few reworks here, maybe add a bonus when it resets, you get a damage bonus or something. So you have like the idea of constantly resetting your CD can like be like a tactical advantage, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Core 1 and Core 2 have been changed. So, Core 1, additional effect if Valkyrie has Time Mastery tag. On Time Fracture /stop, gain 35 Fizz and 20% Elemental Breach. Again, this is one of those things where it's a very character-specific thing. They have to go into the character, Valkyrie, and you have to find one that has the Time Mastery. Now, I don't know if I have one. I do. Okay, here we go. And they have to have the Time Mastery tag attached to them. Now, this is officials QTE. which is interesting. I'm not sure if I have any other characters. It's this little kind of like hourglass. Yep, we do. It's generally tied to the QTE, which is kind of interesting. But they just have to have the tag attached to them, so it doesn't have to be overly deep. It doesn't have to actually be the ability that, you know, has it on it. It just has to have the actual tag attached to it, which is absolutely fine in my opinion. It's a bit more specific. I'm not sure if it's going to keep in line with the general uses of Setsuna, but Elysia physical was there, so maybe they did actually do that. But anyway, it's 35% breach and 20% elemental breach for 8 seconds, which is quite cool. And then the core, or rather the second part is it Setsuna Blade, Tsukimi de Ippai, ice damage has been changed to adaptive damage, so a bit more universality there, which is nice. Core 2, ice damage has been changed to adaptive damage, very cool. And then if the Valkyrie has a time mastery tag, on time fracture / stop, gain 35% breach and 20 elemental, same thing as the top. I'm not sure why Core 1 and Core 2 are just becoming the same thing, I'm not exactly sure why. But then the last one, Setsuna Blade Shinra Bansho, ice damage has been changed to adaptive damage. Setsuna has overall just been made a little bit more universal. You may or may not take it, you just get it, you'll take it if you have the time mastery tag, and on top of that, if the character actually is centered around using their little ultimate evasions, right? That's the only time that you're really going to take this, is if the character is centered around using the ultimate evasion, and they have the time mastery tag. So that is pretty much, so that comes to mind, only physical Elysia. So still stays the same, really. Going on to Mr. Cosma, there's a lot to read here. Cosma has been changed, apparently. I never really used him prior to today, and I'm not really going to use him after today, but maybe I will, who knows. Anyway, looking at his base signets, if Valkyrie has the bleed tag, so only bleeding Valkyries can really use this, against a bleeding enemy, plus 30% fizz, basic attack signet, and then plus 30% total damage multiplier, evasion signet, and then plus 20% bleed damage, alt signet. So let's have a look at it in game. I'm not overly interested in Cosma. Cosma's just like some of the higher risk cards, much like Calpus. It's just a high risk, high reward kind of thing. But taking a look at it, if I can find him. Yada yada yada. Stacking against characters who inflict bleed damage, deal 30% more physical damage to bleeding enemies. Bleed. Characters who inflict bleed, deal 30% more total damage to bleeding enemies. Bleed. And then characters who inflict bleed, deal 20% more bleed damage. So it's a bit more bleed orientated. Again, you do have the rend stacks that are still quite functional, but again, it's bleed orientated. There's 2 bleed characters in the game, guys. There's 2 motherfucking bleed characters in the game. Don't worry. It's just Susanna and Griseo. You can do bleed builds with some other characters because of weapons. I wouldn't recommend it. There's only 2 bleed characters in the game. Cosmo is not going to be quite meta or quite useful for a lot of other characters because that last part doesn't really help you. It really does not help you. Then going on, each rend stack gives enemies 0.6% total damage taken, which is quite good. They take more damage. Before, this shield break was only usable on shielded enemies. This is obviously the shield break card. Now you get a bit of total damage taken, 0.6 per rend stack. You can inflict a total of, what is it, 45 rend stacks if you get the whole combo off. So 45 times 0.6, which is like, what, 30 or some shit, and 20 something. So it's quite good, quite something. And then Valk plus 10% total damage multiplier, 2 shields, which is quite useful. And then the SP restoration has been changed from 10 to 12. Good. Overall buffs, but the main buffs are just for bleeding enemies, so it is what it is. Core 1 has a new effect. If the Valkyrie has the bleed tag, plus 40% fizz breach. That's a lot. And then the next part, Unbending Hero, 1% fizz / Ellie breach, max 25, has been changed to 2% breach and 1% Ellie breach. Max 25 stacks, which is a technical nerf. I believe it's a technical nerf, but it's fine because of the extra boosts that you get at the top, as well as that physical breach on the bleed tag, which is Cosmo has been changed to physical, essentially, is the main point. On shield break, plus 100% total damage multiplier has been changed to 5 SP and 40% fizz and Ellie damage for 10 seconds on coral hit. So a bit more of a nerf, which is interesting, but hey, you know, there was buffs up top, so the bit of nerf down bottom so you don't make the character too overpowered. Unwavering Promise, enemies with rend, plus 80% total damage taken, and then extra 40% total damage taken with plus 20 rend stacks has been changed to extra rend stacks give 1.6% total damage multiplier to 40%, which is, I believe, a technical buff, but it is a bit more dependent on your rend stacks and the amount that they actually have. So it's not just about them having them, but it's the amount that they actually have on them. which is a bit more of just a skill issue, really. Core 1, I think, will remain still the worser one out of the two cores. Unless you are running specifically a bleed character, then it might be just as good. But Core 2 has also some changes. So, Core 2, each Ren stack plus 2% total damage multiplier has been changed to each Ren stack plus 30% max HP and 2% total damage multiplier. An interesting card. I'm not sure why the plus 30 max HP for each Ren stack is necessary. I'm not quite sure, but it's going to make you slightly more tankier, even though you are losing HP constantly because you have Ren stacks. Because Core 2 obviously is the one where you apply Ren stacks to yourself. It's fine. I don't know if you're going to be overly ecstatic about it, but the damage has been staying the same. It's 2% total damage multiplier. It's absolutely fine. The next one, Dawn Perpetual Weight, 2% physical/LE breach to a max of 30 has been changed to 4% phys breach to a max of 60 and 2% LE breach to a max of 30. So it's a physical buff. Overall, elemental characters are still going to go for Core 2 if you do decide to run Cosmo 2 on them. For physical though, you're probably going to go for Core 1. There's a lot more physical stuff there, the physical breach and specifically the bleed tag. If you can bleed, Cosmo has been changed to bleed. It's, again, like I said with the Eden section, every Signet is now changing into a very specific kind of playstyle. You're going to go for very specific things. It's positive, negative, depends on your perspective. It really just depends on your perspective. I think it's okay. A bit more universality would go a long way. Maybe add a few extra tags, so instead of just it being bleed tag for physical breach, you know, right here on the Core 1, instead of it just being for bleed, maybe make it bleed fizz. And so you can make, if it's a bleed character, they also get it. Because you can maybe have like a bleed elemental character, I'm not sure, in the future, who knows. But you just for physical Valkyries, or maybe like bleed fast tag. A few extra tags would make it go a long way, just so you can maybe have a bit more freedom. Because just bleed 40% makes it a bit shitty. It's a bit shitty, but that's besides the point. Moving on to the next one, we need to get through this a bit more quicker because this is going to be a long-ass video. Onto Mobius. I don't even know how this character works, but no changes for the basic sickness. As for Core 1, re-triggering Mind Sync resets the duration has been changed to extends by 4 seconds, which is cool, that's fine. Additional 5-second extension with Summoned Entity. I think Core 1 is the good one. Newborn X, new effect. During Mind Sync, Val gains 30% Fizz and 20% Elemental Breach, which is quite fine. A bit more damage. Core 2 though, Sentient Sync deals 40% adaptive damage, has been buffed to 500% adaptive damage. Not going to make it usable. And then Immortal M, when a self-generated summoned entity lasts more than for more than 8 seconds, has been changed to 3 seconds. Not going to use Core 2. If you ever do choose to run Mobius, you're still going to be using Core 1. No changes here. Now, Griseo. Now, I've heard some news that Griseo has been nerfed into the ground. I probably don't believe that. I doubt that you can really nerf her too heavily to actually make her useless. But basic Signet's Red Hot has been changed from 25 to 20% Fizz and Elemental damage taken by enemies, which is okay. It's a 5% nerf overall, but it's still fine. As for Black and Dark, max stacks has been reduced from 6 to 4. Well, that's fine. I think Black and Dark is... How much damage is that? Hold up, let me try to really quickly find the amount of damage that is. Hello, Griseo. There we are. Is that Black and Dark? Black and Dark, it's 12% for 4 stacks. Before it was 6%, or rather, sorry, it's 16 at level 3. 16, 4 stacks, it's going to be 64%. Before it was 6 stacks, so you're getting like 100 something. It's fine. It's 64% damage, so you're absolutely fine. Now, Core 1 and Core 2 have seen that, as we can tell by the massive wall of text, has a lot of changes. Core 1, 20, 50, and 100% has been changed to 10, 20, 50. That's a terrible change. That's like the worst thing that you could have done. This makes Core 1 probably unusable because you fundamentally altered the incredible... Like, if you do not have all the paints, you're useless. You're not getting a bonus at all. 10% to 20% is not a substantial enough bonus to do anything. So, unfortunate. But anyway, that's it's been changed from 20, 50, and 100 for every paint on the enemy. To now 10, 20, and 50 for every paint on the enemy. You can have 1 to 2 paints. Sorry, 1 to 3 paints on Core 1. Now, that's okay, whatever. Moving past that. For every Core Signet owned, Valkyrie gains 10% Fizz Breach and 5% LE Breach to a max of 5 stacks. I don't necessarily think this is good because it means you have to spread your value into many, many different cores instead of funneling into one, which is I'm a much larger fan of funneling into one and having a few side ones, but this one pushes for the idea of going into many different ones. As for which one you combo with, go for Stars, Griseo, which is Griseo, then you go for Vicissitude, then you go for Raponia, and then you go for like Kevin. You can very rarely get 5 Nexuses. Very rarely are you going to get 5, by the way. So, a terrible change in my opinion. Blooming Like Flowers additional effect on tainted enemy death. Apply paint to surrounding enemies after 1 second. Burning Like Flames, 25 has been increased to 50 Fizz Breach. A lot of physical buffing throughout this whole change stuff. Overall, Core 1 is probably unusable for the most part unless you can trigger all of your paints very consistently. Very consistently triggering of the paints has to happen here. If you cannot permanently apply all 3 of your paints, and if you can't guarantee that you're going to get at least 3 cores, because you want to utilize these breaches here to at least some value, right? So if you can't at least get 3 cores or Nexus Signets, you're going to not get any value out of Core 1 of Griseo, unfortunately. Now going on to Core 2, though, which was technically the overpowered one. I'm not sure why Core 1 needed a change, but Core 2, technically the overpowered one. Petals in the Wind, increased the effect of red, yellow, and blue taint by 40%, has been changed to needs and hand signets of different FCs, which is very bad change in my opinion again. 10% 1 stack, max 40. Again, unnecessary change. It's a dependency on having other nexuses. So instead of just applying the red, yellow, and blue taint and their value being increased by 40, now the value is enhanced per nexus signet of different FCs, or different enhanced signets of different FCs, which are flame chasers. So you still need to, spread out your build variety. You still need to expand into different trees to get any value out of her Core 2, which is the worst change that could have ever happened, but whatever. And then 1 stack equals 10, so to a max of 40, and even then the value hasn't even increased. If they increase the value to maybe like 20% per stack to a total of 80, then it could be actually good value, but it's very bad value. It's still the same. Just difficult to achieve. After that, Fallen Leaves total damage multiplier for each taint has been changed to needs enhanced signets of different MCs, TDM plus 5 per stack. It's the same value overall, but you just have a harder time getting it. Flame Extinguish, which was the strong one, reduce enemies' Fizz defense by 40 and Ellie res by 15 for 10 seconds, has been changed to needs enhanced signet of different FCs, 10% max 40, 5% max 20 per stack. Shit. It's just dog shit. It's really just dog shit. And here's the thing. Here's why it's dog shit. It's not because it's value bad. It's playstyle bad. It's accessibility bad. This is just shit. This needs to be reverted near immediately. Griseo 2 is now just practically unusable because if you do not get lucky with going into other trees and other enhanced signets, you are not going to get any value. You're just not going to be able to get anything done, right? Now let me quickly just go into the actual game and see this stuff for myself because it's absolutely ridiculous. So when Valkyries deal more damage, when a tainted enemy dies, blah blah blah, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. When enemies are tainted with both yellow and red, Valkyries have able to with breach against them. And then blue enemies Valkyries has damage with 6 meters, yada yada yada. Where is it? Griseo 1. Griseo set 1. Yeah, each enhanced segment of a different flame chaser owned makes Fated Stars. It's just very, very unnecessary, the difficulty of now getting the damage bonus, and the damage bonus is not much better. I'm absolutely unsure why this change was added. I'm really unsure. Because Griseo 2, whilst very overpowered previously, if you apply all 3 paints and you get all 3 paint mixtures, it was very strong. But god damn, dude, god damn. Very, very unnecessary change. I'm a bit speechless because it's the worst change that they could have done because it's not a power change. A power change is fine, but it's an accessibility change. You can't actually get the multipliers unless you get lucky. And although the luck is not terrible, getting into different trees is not a bad thing. This is just, it's too much because you don't actually get extra value from going into variable trees. It's the same amount of value, and it's very, you need 40, you need 4 stacks to get 40%, which is the same as the previous much. So you're probably not going to be using Griseo much. Vicissitude. Quickly going into Vicissitude. Basic signets have been changed. No one to share has been changed from 0.6% physical breach per stack to 1.2 physical breach per stack, so a physical increase. Core 1, Fleeting Fantasy, 1 initial soldier resolve stack has been changed to 3 initial soldiers resolve stacks, which is fine. You know, you don't really use Core 1 at all. And then for Core 2, Worldly Troubles total damage multiplier by 50 of damage reduction has been increased to 80%, so Worldly Troubles actually become a lot better. And then Go with the Flow additional effect to gain 15 SP. Core 2 has been actually increased. I think that Worldly Troubles change is actually really good. So you can actually go into a bit more of a total damage reduction percentage transfer rate build quite easily, actually. You can actually do that quite easily. If I just jump into here and try to find that, I do believe that is actually a worthwhile change and might actually be worth building quite well, actually. As for this SP increase, you get 24 at the high end. As for Worldly Troubles, at the high end, you also now 140% of total damage reduction from all signets. I think Worldly Troubles actually might be worth building into this time. I think it's overall going to give you pretty good results. Moving on though, Reverie has not been changed, and that is all the signets. This has been a very long video, 40 minutes and counting. Okay, so overall, most of them have been kind of changed to be very, very specific in Valkyrie. Like, Eden has been changed to a bit more lightning-based. Calpus again stays the same mostly. Bodhi's, fast attack Valkyries. Sakura has been changed to dodge Valkyries, like Time Mastery and Ultimate Evasion Valkyries. Cosmo has been changed to bleed Valkyries. Infinity stays most of the same. Stars has been changed to shit. And Vicissitude has been changed to good. Overall, very odd changes. I'm not sure why the Griseo changes there. I'm not sure why the, which one was it? The, where is it? I'm not sure why the Daybreak has to be so physical bleed dependent. I'm really not sure, but I think overall, we're going to be mainly using, I think Kevin's going to be pretty used, like, a lot more than everything else. Ponia will still be, Core 2 will still be used the most, I think. I think we'll see a lot more play from Eden. Helix will still be, like, one of the most used. Calpus will still be one of the most used. And then the other ones will just be a very, very niche Valkyrie dependent. Because they obviously have the very specific tag attached to them. They have a very, very specific thing. Like, you must use this one thing. If you do not use this one thing, then you're not getting any bonuses. It's a bit unfortunate to see because obviously that's very constricting. That's very, very constricting. And it's gonna limit your creativity. But what are you gonna do, right? What are you gonna do? It's odd change. The same thing with the other Elysian Realm change with the shallow sequence. It's gonna be very odd. Some of these may be reverted very, very quickly. I would say within the next patch or within like the next few weeks, some of these may be reverted very, very quickly because some of them are very bad changes. Some of them are zero value to the Valkyrie. Like picking them up, no matter what you do, you just get nothing. So I don't doubt that this will actually be, or some of them will be reverted very, very quickly. But overall, it was very insightful to see this. Thank you so much to Cares for recommending to do this. It was very insightful to see how easy MiHoYo fucked up a very beloved system. But regardless though, hopefully this did help you guys understand some of the characters and how they work. I now definitely understand that some of them are dog shit. Or sorry, not the characters, the signets themselves. I understand that some of them are now dog shit. If you guys did enjoy, like and sub to the channel, and have a great day. Peace out.